Hello, it's Leanne here, occupational therapist from Succeed Healthcare Solutions. Looking forward to our next Health and Educators Collaborate to Innovate meetup today. I know there's a monthly clash of appointments that occurs or networking meetings that occurs on these Fridays once a month. So yeah, looking forward to you guys joining us again next time. So the topic today that I thought we could dive into is actually about bridging the divide, strengthening collaboration between health tech innovators and allied health professionals in Australia. So I am going to share my screen. There we go. Awesome. Okay, so this is a topic that I've been diving into more and more, as you guys are aware, for those who have been following along and joining in. We've been looking at this concept of innovating in the health space, doing things differently, not feeling comfortable that how we've always done things is the best way to do things moving forward. And in fact, there are a lot of rapid changes going on around us that will impact on us in the health and education sector. So it's good to be across it. So when I have been going to these networking and informational meetings in the health tech sector, it's been really cool. A lot of them have been in the CBD, so that potentially could be a barrier for health professionals who maybe live further out. But I have noticed that there are a lot of the players that you want to be collaborating in the health tech space in the room at these meetings. You've got your IT engineers, you've got, your philanthropists, you've got your UD sort of lecturers and research people, you've got your business people. I'm noticing there's less of allied health professionals in the room. That seems to be a bit of a gap, like they're kind of more the rare people there. And that's a little bit concerning. Maybe it's just my limited experience so far with going to these things. So I'm hoping to be proven wrong at future ones. So it led me to the question of, okay, if there is a bit of a gap going on there between health tech innovators and the everyday allied health professionals in Australia or in Brisbane, how do we bridge that gap? So to bridge that gap, it really does require more of that collaboration, open communication, and mutual understanding. The things that we've explored previously, but perhaps we can go into a little bit more detail now. So we're going to go through understanding a bit more of those challenges that might be there, creating a culture of collaboration, establishing communication channels, enhancing education and training, and encouraging co-creation and co-design, and recognizing the value of data and analytics as well. So this is the big question: how can we bridge that divide? Okay, so it is important for there to be collaboration between the health tech innovators and the allied health professionals. I myself have benefited as an occupational therapist in starting to collaborate in this space, just to be thinking beyond what I'm currently doing. And we're starting to put little changes in place that are having a big effect on us, particularly around being able to save time on things that were labor intensive and produce more output with less. So what a win is that, hey? And that is impacting on clients in terms of giving them more helpful information for their individualized treatment plans at a lower cost. So I think that's a big win. So there seems to be a bit of a gap and lack of collaboration between your health tech innovators and collaborators and your everyday allied health professionals that you tend to come across. So bridging that divide is really a goal, and it's something that needs to be focused on, and recognise that there potentially is a bit of an issue there. So we've got to start to think about, what are some of the barriers to collaboration. It's useful to have a look at that. Have a look at the differences in languages and expertise. So when I've gone to these health tech meetings, they are talking a different language. Yeah, I can fit in well enough to sort of, do what I need to do when I'm there. But there definitely is that sense of like feeling, I guess, a little bit of imposter syndrome, or a bit like I don't fit in the room because there aren't many other allied health professionals there getting into it. So that's really interesting. Sometimes there can be things like lingo or acronyms that are used that the health tech space are totally across. It's what they use day in, day out, that maybe in the everyday allied health setting we're not particularly using as well. And then this is an important one. Is there some reluctance from the everyday allied health professionals to get involved in the health tech space because of maybe feeling like, their job might be displaced if they do, help innovate in health tech in a way where their jobs are done more efficiently? I have seen that in my professional life quite a bit in the government. I haven't seen it quite so much in private practice, where people feel like, well, if this particular role that I'm doing is made to be quicker or more efficient or more automated, I'm going to be doing myself out of a job. Well, my philosophy as a health professional is I want to do myself out of a job. I want people to get access to healthcare when they need it, in a way they can afford it, in the way they can access it. And I'm not out of a job. I don't see us putting ourselves out of a job. Things will just change. Why not make the changes work for us? I've always been a little bit of an inventor my whole life. Not an inventor, have inventive ideas. The inventors, and the innovators, they make them happen. We make them happen in our context of our business, Succeed Healthcare Solutions. We do run quite innovative and different social, emotional type groups that young people actually want to attend. And we have a great time doing that as a team. But in terms of actually making, I think, different things that we could do, I'm not there to make it happen. I'm not the sort of person who's going to sort of put out the plan and get the patent and, develop it and all that sort of stuff. But I think that's where those collaborations come into play, because you've got all the different parties in the room who might be able to work together and make it happen. So it is important to have the allied health professionals in the room. So we're going to explore that a little bit more as well. I don't think they need to fear that they're going to be out of a job. There's always going to be work for them to do. It's about getting more efficient and creating a society that's functioning better. State governments put out their 2032 health plan. They want to focus on health and wellness. What an amazing space for that to be in, where suddenly, we're working so well around, disability and sickness and disease, that we can shift away from focusing on that and focusing on the whole of society's health and wellness, everyone's, whether we've got disabilities, no disabilities, health condition, no health condition. I think that's great. So in that way, we need to innovate in order to get to that point. So it's important for us to create a culture of collaboration. We know when these health tech collaborators come together, they're like, yeah, we've got collaboration nailed. We know the research shows that we need to do it. That's lovely. Are the allied health professionals in the room, the everyday ones that deliver the services? When they do get together, it's important that they do have a shared vision and common goals. That's really important, of course, and we've talked about that before in our meetings around what is our goals, and that sort of thing. And we want to foster a culture of trust and open communication. And I think this is where it can get a bit tricky. You notice a bit of politics in the room with these health tech meetings around, someone will ask, oh, well, you're going to make that data, are you going to share it so that people can kind of co-innovate and co-collaborate? It's a bit quiet at that point. So that's been interesting. And, I think there's a bit of that can happen between businesses as well in the allied health space. And I'm not sure that's particularly that useful in terms of progressing us and moving us forward as society. But we do want to encourage interdisciplinary learning and understanding. I think we're just, as therapists, we're so resourceful, we can make a lot from not much. And so then to get us in the same room as these health tech people, and just conversing and sharing ideas and progressing them and moving forward, I think we can do so much. So I think that's really important. So we will go to the next slide. So we want to establish some communication channels that work. I know at our previous meeting, at our meetup, we talked about what are the preferred communication channels to collaborate. It is an important one. Your regular meetings and forums for discussions, your online platforms for knowledge sharing and networking. I like this idea. Having a bit of a mentorship program and, your professional development opportunities. But I like this idea of the mentorship program, really bringing together the people in the health tech space and the allied health professionals, so that they have probably more intimate rather than everyone's in the big room together through mentoring. Just maybe looking at doing it a bit more through that as an option as well. So that's something to have a think about. So it might be social media groups and things like that you might also collaborate through as well. And we know about the networking meetings and things like that, your conferences and workshop, to bring them together, whether it's face-to-face interactions for knowledge exchange and building relationships. Obviously, relationships is where it's all at, whether it's having the presentations, panel discussions, and interactive sessions to encourage collaboration and sharing of insights. So the meetings I've been to, that's what they do. The health tech meetings are doing that. Again, I'm not noticing a lot of the local everyday allied health professionals in the room. So yeah, it's an important one too. So enhancing training education, it's important to have a look at integrating health tech education into the allied health curricula. So at the university level, that those two worlds are meeting there, and then it kind of becomes the norm as people graduate and move out into the sector as well. For those who are already out in the sector, making sure that we've got training and upskilling opportunities for professionals available out there, and having those cross-disciplinary workshops and conferences. I think this is really important. So instead of maybe focusing so much on like occupational therapy conference, although they can be great, or conferences for certain doctors, or conferences for the sort of the med tech space collaborators, mixing it up a little bit more. So, maybe as health professionals, we're going to the conferences that the teachers go to. The teachers are going to the conferences that the health professionals go to. We're going to be picking up so much from each other's stuff, and then you can have, preferred streams that you go to according to interest. I think that could really work. And then we want to have a think about co-creation and co-design. So, I'm sure this must happen, but I just feel so out of reach sometimes. I do notice that the government puts out things like, tenders and grants and stuff around innovation. But, trying to bridge that gap between those who are able to do that and those who might be able to contribute in the everyday sense is something to have a little think about. And that's where co-creating and co-designing them can come in handy as well. I did notice there have been a few sort of tech startup gatherings going on, so that's pretty cool. Again, I wonder if the language there, maybe allied health professionals are kind of self-excluding from going to those, because they feel like maybe that isn't where they see themselves, and it just feels a bit too far removed from them, and they might feel a bit alienated from it. So just thinking about the language there as well. But yeah, collaborative projects, pilot programs, and promoting, really user-centered design and feedback loops as well. So, it's also important to recognize the value of data and analytics. So informing evidence-based practice. I think allied health professionals definitely value research. I know in our business, we measure everything. We measure the start, we measure mid, we measure the end, and then it helps us make changes. And I'm sure many out there do. I just think, maybe we can embrace data even more. So, for example, we have rolled out in our business a sort of AI style reading program, which young people can do from home, and that makes it really accessible. It's all data, so it's assessing and analysing as it goes, and then it's prescribing programs, and you just know it's going to be very specifically tailored to that child's needs, compared to as a human kind of just going, I think this is how they're performing and this is how I'm going to prescribe things. So there can be just that little bit extra level of data gathering, and to sort of have a look at, did this particular program really help them during that session in a very data and analytical way, because, the numbers don't lie. So yeah, having a look at, encouraging health tech innovators to provide actionable insights. So maybe making it a little bit less sort of, I'll say scary. How can we incorporate that into our everyday life as an everyday allied health professional as well? And then, showcasing success stories and best practices. I know some of the members from our team have gone to some presentations from panels where they have shown the work that they've been doing, where, the health tech or med tech space have actually been rolling out that technology into the everyday practices around Brisbane. For some of those patients, they have gone there as a last resort when nothing else has worked. I'm not sure that's necessarily how we need to be doing things. But I do think there is going to be, the pace of change is going to be like this from here as well. So yeah, just a bit more, sharing those case studies and lesson learned and distributing them out. It can be through things like OT Australia, they have newsletters and stuff like that. So maybe some of those communication channels where normally as a OT we might access information, making that really accessible through those organisations can help as well. And then celebrating those achievements to inspire further collaboration too. Okay, so it definitely is, of course, important to collaborate, and that's for the future of healthcare in Australia. I don't think we want to keep doing things the way they've been done. We want to, I think, have a world-class, world-leading health system, and that even then, even when we have that we do even better. Why not dream big? We can do it. So yeah, we want to, encourage those ongoing efforts to bridge the divide and acknowledge it's there in the first place, and then invite all stakeholders to embrace a collaborative mindset for further improvement. So I hope you enjoyed that. We look forward to seeing you guys again next week. I'm actually going to be away in at a conference around healthcare in rural and remote areas, but the team will continue to host these. So we look forward to seeing you guys then. Bye.